Hello and welcome to Tech Talk. I'm Darius Thigpen, and we are coming to you live from both Tampa, Florida, and we'll call it the Phoenix area, Mesa, Arizona. He's Christian Chandler. It's a pleasure to have you folks along for the ride. We are going to discuss a little bit about, well, some of the ongoings in adding jobs for companies without adding a whole bunch of staff. So, Christian, let's go ahead and let you introduce yourself for the people here.
Christian Chandler, as Darius said, I'm in the greater Phoenix area. I'm new to Actsoft, got here in March, but I'm not new to digital transformation. I've been doing this for well over a decade, as well as leading sales teams, working in communications, but the bulk of my experience, including applications, software, things like that. Got an MBA over this time too, and just happy to be here. Excited to be with Actsoft, and working forward to helping businesses achieve more with less.
Yeah.
So thank you, Darius.
Yeah, and for everyone watching, I guess you're going to be mostly listening at the moment. We can tell that there's a little bit of a lag on the stream, so do bear with us. If your computer or your device is loading a little bit slowly, it's some of the joys of live production. But we roll on, Christian, and for Actsoft, what we like to do here, we like to talk about the digital transformation. We like to talk about what's going on with our customers, addressing their pain points. And for this Tech Talk, what we really want to address for this episode is how you can use the software, Mobile Workforce Plus, to add jobs without hiring more technicians. So electricians, plumbers, HVAC professionals, people across the industries, they've had this experience just like everyone else has during what we're calling the Great Resignation during 2021, where employees are going for newer opportunities, hiring managers, well, they're just having a joy of a time trying to find more staff. So companies want to be able to get the most bang for their buck with the employees that they have. They want to be able to do more with less. And when we look at kind of how everything is rolled out, how important is it for specifically the field services to be able to get that experience where they can get more jobs in without having to bring in more staff?
I think it's huge right now because it goes primarily to their reputation. And a lot of times they're working with other companies who give them referrals. And the more jobs they can take, the more money they can make, as well as, keep their employees happy so they don't leave or go try to find other, jobs out there. I recently had my hot water heater replaced, and I actually had that done, several years ago. And I got it done the same day. This time it took a couple days to get everything where I needed it to be. And as a customer, right, I'm without hot water for a few days. So, and it's the nature of the beast. I think if anybody's gone to a restaurant lately, they can see that, there's definite difference in staffing levels and how things are working. But it doesn't mean you have to let everything sacrificed because you're struggling a little bit on hiring. It just really comes down to working a bit smarter. Technology does that for us. That's a big thing. Being able to know where your people are in the field, where they are on a specific job. Not having to have them come back to the office to get work orders or information, just being able to, in our case with Mobile Workforce Plus, looking at an app and having everything in front of you, having that, one person in the office managing dispatching, and, having the ability to just have a better snapshot of what's going on in your workforce. I think a lot of times we're seeing businesses or employees who are getting paid on a per job basis. So the last thing you want to do is have them on call and not have any work for them. So just getting smarter at being able to know when your peak periods are, how many jobs you can take at a particular time, what your workload looks like based on your staffing at the time is huge. And as I said, even from a customer service experience, because you don't want people, having to quote them, we'll be out there in 2 days when you actually have somebody in the field you just don't know what they can do at that moment, and they're moving on to a different a vendor at that point because you can't meet their timeline. So it's huge and critical, but applications are there that allow you to have a better insight into what your workday is going to look like. And then to top it all off, you've actually got, if you can take one more job a day, do that every day, extrapolate that across your employees. Think about revenue wise. You're getting more money into your business, which allows you to, function and survive using the same amount of resources and smartly using them as well.
Yeah, working smarter as opposed to working harder. I do kind of want to zoom in on one thing you said with companies that they pay out on a per job basis as opposed to necessarily having a timesheet that they would need to fill out or having hourly staff. So how often do you come across that where companies go off of that per job basis where it really is mission critical to be able to get more jobs to be able to get more revenue in just to make sure that the whole company keeps going in that direction?
Yeah, living in Phoenix, I mean, especially during the summer, we see, HVAC like crazy, right? Things are breaking. I've been one of those people before, where my motor went out on my, my air conditioner, and you want the reason they don't want to charge, and I've noticed this because I've lived other places, and I noticed in Arizona, it's like they don't want to charge emergency fees because it's a competitive market, and it's just expected that you're going to have these systems break down in the peak of the summer when it's 110 plus degrees outside. So I see that a lot. And when they have guys come over here, I'll talk to them and get some insight into the industry because I'm curious. And that's it. They want to be, they get paid per job. It's not, and they're on call. They kind of, get scheduled out, a particular, day or whatever it is, could be a 24-hour on call. And the last thing they want to do is be twiddling their thumbs waiting for work. And so the more jobs they do, the more they make. And again, it comes down, you talk about great resignation, you've got to keep them happy as well. Yeah. Work is expensive. Our employees are expensive to hire. I mean, if anybody's ever done that, I've been a hiring manager for several years as well. And I think one time talking to my HR, it was $40,000 to hire somebody. And if they don't work out, that includes training. I can't even talk about skilled labor. Somebody who's got certifications they have to keep up with, that could get really expensive, especially if you're paying for that to make them certified. And then they go take that business somewhere else or that knowledge somewhere else. So it's a fine line. It's a balance. You definitely, as I said, want to keep your customers happy, but you also got to keep your employees happy as well. They pretty much are your customer as well too. You're selling to them. You're getting them to come work for you. So having the ability to, keep them busy, not waste their time, make sure they're getting the proper information. They're not out in the field wondering, do I have this information or where's this person at? They can literally look at an app on their device and have the address, all the notes for the customer, anything else you want to include. So when they get there, they're ready to go. And again, they're not sitting around waiting. That's one thing I've seen, in my history in the past, having people come out to my house is a lot of times it's waiting for phone calls or waiting for people to call back. You eliminate that time. That gives you, keeps them happier because they're not twiddling their thumbs. And then on top of that, you're able to get them out into another job quicker and faster because they're not waiting for the information that could have readily been available to them, very quickly.
Yeah. And I think what you said there, it just makes so much sense because a lot of times when people talk about mobile workforce management, mobile resource management, you're looking at it from that management point of view, where you're looking at it from what the owner is getting back, but the ROI for the end user, right? The employee who's actually getting paid more for doing more jobs. That would make something like a solution where you can cut a couple hours out of the day from doing paperwork. That would make this pretty attractive to someone who's actually using the software as well, right?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, and just think about paperwork, right? How accurate is it? If you've ever filled out a form at a doctor's office or something like that, there's always like you hand it like, oh, you forgot to sign this. With electronic forms, you can require everything, and you can make sure, and you can even, make it so specific that it has to be a number as opposed to letters, or it's from a drop down. Make it smart, so you have the ability to say, they answer no to a question, it takes them one direction. If they answer yes to a question, it takes them another direction. And it's not that form you're looking at, skip this section like on a paper form, or, and people don't, or they forget or don't realize it. There's tons of ways to get the data in the field more accurately and then quicker, because once they hit send, it's back to the home office or wherever it needs to go. If it's a customer, if you want to send a receipt to the customer or an invoice, right away. I mean, that doesn't even account how quick you're going to be able to do your receivables at that point, right? I mean, I think about anybody who could bill a day or two earlier. If you think about how much faster you get paid for a job and have that information, how much more money you have in the bank to be able to pay your employees down the road, and or expand. It's just something that I feel that we've kind of missed over the years. When I first started in this industry, smartphones were pretty new. It was a little more, the adoption rate was a little slower because people were still getting used to smartphones. Nowadays, everybody has a smartphone. Everybody can, buy tickets to a movie or play with social media. So that adoption rate is much easier to encourage because of the fact that if you have an application that's very similar to what they're using on a daily basis, they quickly figure it out, know how to use it, and so deployment is super fast. Not to mention, now you can change everything on the fly. The cost of paper, think about forms that back in the day when we used to have triplicate forms, those were a couple dollars a piece. And let's say there's something you need to change on it. Unless you're going to go through and white out each one, which on a triplicate form, you're really not going to be able to do. Having the ability to, with a digital form, to be able to go in and on the fly update it, and everybody in the field gets the update. Maybe you need to collect some different data. Maybe there's parts that are out of stock and you've replaced them with different parts. They have all that capability. It's instant, and they're not, again, waiting around for somebody to give them the information, or bringing, they're not bringing paperwork back to the office that's incomplete that you have to now chase them down to figure out, what's missing, or and God willing, they actually know what's missing. Like, they didn't forget because they've had, 13 jobs that day. And then on top of it all, they're not having to drive that stuff back and forth. It's all in your office right then and there. They can go home. They don't have to come by the office. They can start their morning out in the field. They don't have to come by the office. So all that saves time. All that time is more work for you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to refresh the app than to track down 50 different forms that you have in the field, knowing what's still in circulation and trying to get that rerouted.
Exactly.
Well, moving off of just paper forms, we talked a little bit about the paper capabilities, but there are other parts of the mobile workforce platform that really are useful for end users and for people in the back staff alike. So let's look a little bit about just the GPS, the communication aspect, just kind of bringing the office to the field and the field to the office, and that seamless interaction between the two. From companies you worked with, how much does having something like Mobile Workforce Plus improve upon just having to pick up a phone and call someone?
Yeah, I first and foremost, I think we kind of talked about forms and stuff, but the and dispatching is huge. I mean, your ability to have, again, somebody in the office and just be able to send out work, not only, and you're talking about GPS tracking, rather have to pick the phone up and call somebody, or have access to their personal, Google Maps information, which people sometimes don't want to give up. You have the ability to, go in there and see not only where your people are to the minute, right, or where they're headed, but also you can, we have capabilities in there to tell us where they are in the job. Can they accept the job? Has something come up? That ability to go back and forth. Maybe a client's not there when they show up, so they can kick the job back to the dispatcher and get another job sent to them. Or maybe they have an issue, that they can't fix and they got to call somebody else out. That ability to have a dispatcher who kind of can manage all that from one single pane of glass is huge. As far as and then there's safety concerns, right? You're able to know, are they speeding, or how are your people doing in the field? Maybe there's an issue in the field and they're broken down, so you have that capability to be able to and they can kick back, hey, I can't make it to this particular job right now. And you can get the next person in the field to go take up that job, and now you still have a happy customer, because now you're not waiting hours for this one guy because you have no idea and they're in the middle of nowhere and you don't have the ability to get to there. You touched on interoffice messaging. One of my clients recently, that was a huge thing with them. I mean, there's tons of ways to communicate with mobile devices these days, but they're, if you're talking like, they have, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, just your typical text messaging, that's great and all, but it's not company based, right? So if you use an app that's built for the company, you can sit there and build groups and have specific groups and communicate, and all that data is saved into your portal, so you can reference it later, have that communication back and forth. It could be something as simple as, hey, everybody refresh your app, we just updated one of our forms, we need to go ahead and get everybody on the same form. Or hey, we have this going on. Or or these are delayed, whatever it is. And you can create these groups in the sense that, if you just want to talk to supervisors, you can do that. If you want to an all hands discussion, you can do that as well. And it's all, again, it's all tracked and all in a database. It's not just, in a centralized hub, I guess you could say, because it's all company based. I think that's the huge thing that people miss on things like messaging. Because, I've worked for jobs. I sit there and text message back and forth, but having the ability to keep work-related information within a work-related app is huge. And again, everybody's got record of it, and it's something you can reference down the road.
Yeah, and how about we go into like a specific use? Look at me as a customer, right? As a customer, I don't like having these 8-hour service windows, which I think just about everyone is used to seeing, where you get a service window could be between 8 and 2 p.m. How can something like Mobile Workforce Plus cut down on that? And how might having a tighter service window also help a company get a few more jobs in per day?
I think that's huge. Granted, we do, over the past 18 months, we have a lot of people working from home, but still, they still have to work, right? And the last thing you want to do is be in the middle of a meeting or something like that, and have to, and have an 8-hour window where they have to keep it open and like keep it loose. Like I'm talking to you right now. I don't want to have somebody knocking on my door, saying, "Hey, I'm here to fix your air conditioner," And
you said you were going to be here at 11. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. That's 11:18. Yeah, exactly. For my time. But yeah, definitely. I think that's huge. For a customer, I hate that. I hate 4-hour windows because that's a big chunk of time. I think an hour, maybe 2 is probably a little more reasonable. Having the ability, again, to know what what staff you have on, that day, being able to know what area they're going to be in. So if you're out there, I've got, so-and-so in the East Valley, I've got so-and-so in the West Valley, I've got 13 jobs here, 12 jobs here, and then you've kind of got somebody in the middle. You've got the ability to not, if you know your business, of course, there's definitely things that come up in your business. But for the most part, if you're going in and you're fixing something, you kind of got an idea of what it'd take a window of time. But on top of that, if they get done early and they're sending the thing back to you and, your form back to you, say, "I'm done." Now you got a 2-hour window that's even closer. You might be able to squeeze another job in there in the meantime. You got an emergency window or something like that. So just having a good snapshot of your day and understanding your work and being able to communicate quickly with your customers when they call in, and then prioritizing it based on where they're located, being able to look at a map and say, okay, they can do bam, 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 in order, and not sending them all over. I always make a joke on Phoenix because people will say, "Hey, I'm going to Phoenix. What should I, what should I do when it comes to entertainment?" The joke is in Phoenix is you have to drive across Phoenix to get to Phoenix. It's so big. It's the 5th largest major metropolitan area, but it can take you 40 minutes to drive from one side to the other without traffic. So putting your techs in the field and making them have tons of extra windshield time because you're just taking jobs as they come rather than like really mapping them out. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, they all map that stuff out. They make sure it gets to where it needs to go. There's no reason why a small business shouldn't be able to do the same thing. Again, saving time, getting that windshield time back, and being able, if you think about it, after spend, just say 40 minutes away, 40 minutes back, it's nearly 2 hours, right? You can do a job in that time. Right. So cutting that down to 5 minutes and they're going to the next job is huge.
Yeah. No, there's a difference between if you say you've got 2 people in Mesa and you've got the job in Glendale. Well, now you know how you can kind of make that decision. Or for anyone who's located in Tampa, say you've got people in Clearwater and St. Pete, and then you've got to go to the West Chase area. You kind of see the dots on the map and then can make the decision in the app, and that's a really powerful thing to see as well. So when we look at the ROI of adding a software versus adding staff, you touched on it earlier, but just get back into how expensive that can be to bring on just one additional staff member.
It's insane how expensive it is. If you think about the whole entire process, right? You have the recruitment process, you have the interview process. That means you're taking people who probably don't just do interviewing. In my case, I was interviewed by 5 different people to come to Actsoft. You're taking their time away. So you're paying people to do something that's not their core job. We have an HR staff, but you got to make sure you're hiring the right people. So you got to get the right principals involved that they're going to be working with. And then if that doesn't work out, that's not even talking about, then you start over and you got to do that again. But then if you get them through training and then it doesn't work out, now you've just paid for somebody to train them, not to mention the resources, and getting them set up with logins and all that other stuff, that's going into it. and then give it a few months. Now they've come on along. Your ROI on a hire is usually 2 to 3 years just to get the money back. So you've got to keep them around for a while. That was like my biggest thing. It's like, I don't want to hire somebody I think is going to be here for 6 months. It's like, I want somebody who's going to be here, for a long term, so I get my resources out of them. And then if you start adding education behind that or other things that you're paying for from a benefit standpoint, where's that talent going? What if they're coming in here and getting the job, but they don't see a value of moving up in the company, or that they're not being appreciated? They're going to take that somewhere else, and you just paid for somebody else's education to go, to go work for another employer. I think I kind of touched on that earlier. So with an application or software, you're not only gaining the ability to streamline your business, but you're gaining, as I said, this has kind of been the theme of this, doing more with less. But you really are. But in the same token, you're increasing that employee satisfaction. I'm not talking about working them to death or that, but you're filling their day, right? And you're cutting out a lot of the minuscule, parts of the job they may not like. And one of that might be driving back to the office every day. Yeah. It might be, hey, I got to drive by my house, go all the way 30 minutes to the office to drop off these work orders, get my work orders for the next day or the next morning, right? And then drive out, and I'm losing all that time. And, we talked about, people who get paid per job. Those guys aren't going to want to do with that at all. It's like, they just want to get out and get their work done throughout the day and get paid. So as far as cost, my job as a consultant is to create an ROI for your company that really my software doesn't actually cost you anything at the end of the day. And matter of fact, it should probably save you money and help you get better revenue or receivables. So and granted, if you need staff, you're going to have to hire staff. I mean, the goal here is to justify hiring more staff, right? But at the same time, when you have a downturn like this with employees, you've got to be able to keep them happy and make money at the same time. And if they're spending a lot of time doing other stuff that isn't revenue generating, it's just costing you money. It's gonna, and you're gonna feel it a lot more when you don't have the ability to get the staff you need. So utilizing what you have now is huge.
It is. Reminder for everyone watching, if you want to, please let us know what your thoughts are. If you have any feedback, let us know in the live chat as well, so we can address your questions as we get toward the end here. Christian, before we do get toward the conclusion, I do want to just kind of paint a picture, just kind of to wrap everything up for everyone who's been watching, just kind of one snapshot of what it might look for a company who has gone from being completely paper bound and they've been completely strapped with all of the nuances of being completely inefficient to now digital transformation. They use Mobile Workforce Plus and things were going seamlessly. What does it look like for the company? What does it look like for the business? And what does it look like for the end user? What does it look like for those field techs?
It's all talking about, gaining extra work and customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. One of my customers I worked with in the past, that was one of the things. They were their inspection company, and they inspected fuel pumps. And there's far more fuel pumps than the amount of inspections they could actually do annually. But on top of that, it's that they just weren't being as efficient with what they had because, we mentioned before, the inaccuracies of the paperwork, just having some things missed or not having the right information where it needs to, having to get those paper forms from one place to the other, and then and then not efficiently managing their routes, and being able to go in and put them on a software an application like Mobile Workforce Plus. Not only, fix those inaccuracies, kept people where they need, in a more streamlined route process, but also allowed them to do more jobs throughout the day, which allowed the employer to go in and grab more inspections from their client. And by the end of, by the full deployment of this, it was about 33% increase in their ability to do inspections for the week. So just think, as I said, this is probably on average about 3 more jobs a day per employee. So Now they not only have more inspections coming in and they're able to bill for more inspections, but their employees are busier, yet not working overtime trying to get stuff back to the office. So that's saving on payroll, but they're getting more streamlined on their inspections. They're not having to deal with, oh, I forgot to put this in, or this was inaccurate. So a satisfaction from the employees because they're not getting harped on for data that they thought they included, but they didn't, or a form got lost and they had to recreate it. So the bottom line across the board was happier employees, happier clients because they're getting more inspections done, and an employer who's bringing in more revenue, and then in turn can hire more employees. So it's a win-win all the way around. And I can tell you right now, the ROI was amazing. They don't even, I mean, the product doesn't even cost them any money. It's making them tons more.
Well, it's like with any other technology. Like it's always been said, the best tech is the one that you don't even notice that you're using. It's just a part of your
exactly.
day,
I
right?
love that. That's great. Yes, exactly.
All right, well, Christian, you've been excellent. Really great insights, and I really appreciate your time discussing everything on Mobile Workforce Plus and some of the benefits that customers can get out of using it. Now, for anyone who would like to get in touch with you to talk about digital transformation, to speak about Mobile Workforce Plus, and possibly even to see a demo, how can they get in touch with you?
You can email me at my first initial, Christian, so CCHANDLER at Actsoft.com, or call me. I'm readily available, 480-747-1129, or definitely go to our website, www.actsoft.com. And we have plenty of resources there as well. But I love to handhold people and go through and really show you how we can save you money and digitally transform your company and make happier employees.
Yeah. Now, one other little addition we'll throw in there, the little salt on top of this beautiful dish we put together. The concierge services. We didn't really talk too much about it, but the white glove customer treatment that comes standard with Mobile Workforce Plus, with working with Actsoft. How do you like to kind of to lay out to people you speak with about the treatment that they get working with Actsoft?
Oh, it's yeah, like you said, it's white glove. Our